finals for the first time since the year 2000. So it's been 25 years. Congratulations to them. This is super exciting for them, and congratulations and shout out to Pascal Siakam for winning the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. I think he deserved it. I know some people are, saying Halliburton should have got it, and Halliburton obviously, played very well in games in this series. And for example, in game 4 it was where he had that crazy 32 and 15 and no turnovers, like a crazy stat line, right? But Pascal Siakam, in my opinion, I thought was consistently, better in this series, I guess if you want to say. Like, there were moments where Halliburton was better, but I feel like Pascal Siakam was better for more of the series, and even some of the games he was better than Halliburton. Like, it was close. It definitely was not like super far off, but I did think Pascal Siakam deserved it and he got it, so shout out to him. So now the Pacers go to the NBA Finals. So now we have OKC versus the Pacers. A very interesting matchup because I don't know if I said this the last time I talked about this a few days ago when I was on live or whatever, or the last video I made about the Pacers and the Knicks series. But I was saying OKC is an interesting matchup against either one of them because OKC is a team where, how Indiana wants to run, play fast, turn you over, get in transition, put up 150 points. The Oklahoma City Thunder are the same way. So I was like, it's a rock fight, as people like to say, in that sense, because they're playing the same style, so to speak. And then against the Knicks, I was saying defensively, it's kind of similar. They both like to play physical, grinded out basketball. Now, OKC doesn't necessarily love to play grinded out. Like I said, they do like to get in transition and stuff like that. But OKC also can and does play like that sometimes as well. So I thought it was very interesting because I thought either way, no matter who they play, they can match up similar in one way or another. So that's why I thought it was really interesting, whoever ended up, going to the finals. I want to say something about the Pacers-Knicks series. So do you remember in 2018? It was 2018, yeah, because that was the year that Kyrie had already left the Cavs with LeBron. And they went to the finals. And they were playing the Warriors with Kevin Durant, who obviously that team is top 2 at the minimum, right? 1 or 2, maybe 3. I don't know. I don't know how to classify it. But they're like one of the greatest teams ever assembled, the Warriors with KD, right? So whether you think they're the number 1 greatest, number 2 greatest, maybe number 3, they are up there, right? So in that series, in game 1 of the NBA Finals, LeBron went insane and dropped 51. Did he end up with 51? I'm trying to remember if he ended up 51 in the regulation, because I don't remember if he even scored in overtime. But anyway, LeBron had 51 points. And the Cavs had a chance to steal game 1 from the all-time great team in the Warriors, right? And George Hill misses the free throw, and JR dribbled out the clock, not to bring up bad memories for Cavs fans. But the Cavs end up losing that game, and the Warriors, I think they swept them that year. 4-1, I think, was the year prior with Kyrie. I think they swept them that year. So I say all that to say, a lot of people thought that if the Cavs had won that game 1, that the Cavs, not a lot of people, but I'll just say some people thought the Cavs might have won that series because winning game 1, especially in that fashion against that team and the heroic performance that LeBron put on, people were like, oh, the Cavs might be able to win this series. And taking that game 1 obviously would have given the Cavs some momentum. Winning and losing a game in the playoffs, every single game matters. So everything shifts, right? So we can never predict what will and what won't happen. In my personal opinion, I think the Warriors, even if the Cavs won that game rather, the Warriors were going to win that series. We're talking about, again, one of the top 3 greatest teams ever assembled. I think the Warriors were going to win that series regardless. I don't think it mattered. But to say all that to say, going back to the Knicks versus Pacers series, the game one is kind of like the what if for the Cavs. Because unlike the Cavs playing the Warriors in 2018, again, I think the Warriors were going to win regardless. It just probably would have been like 4-1, right? Like it wouldn't have been a sweep, it would have been 4-1. But because the Pacers are not an all-time great team, and the Knicks at this moment are not an all-time great team, they were very similar. Like they were matched up well. Like no team was overpowering the other team. Like they both could have like each team could be like, we could have won 4 games straight against this team. Both of them could have said that, right? Like it was pretty evenly matched. And so game one was really a game that the Knicks could go back and look at and say that literally changed the whole series for us, because obviously what happened in game one had never been done before, like a 14-point comeback in like the last 2 minutes, and Aaron Nesmith hitting 20 points and 6 for 6 from 3 in like 5 minutes. And then obviously the Tyrese Halliburton bounce shot, like the Kawhi impossible shot, Tyrese Halliburton shot, like everything had to break perfectly for the Pacers to win that game. And so because it had, never been done before in NBA history, it was something that the Pacers pulled off. However, if the Knicks win that game, we may be looking at a completely different series. And the reason I say that is because, again, unlike the Cavs playing the Warriors, this is not an all-time great team. Now, that's not to say that the Pacers wouldn't have won the series still, because again, we can never say that, because maybe the Pacers, after losing game one, would come out even more laser focused in game, 3 that they lost? Like maybe they split, get game 2, and then in game 3, instead of losing, they get game 3 on their home floor. So I am not saying the series necessarily would have shifted. Like we never know what would have happened. But I do think losing game 1 had a huge impact on how this series went. And I think the Knicks could look to that and be like, we could have won this series if we won game 1. Because again, like with the Cavs, Warriors, I don't think it really would have changed the outcome. This game 1 loss could have really changed the outcome, like honestly, because they were so evenly matched. They were so close. Like I really think it could have changed the series. Someone said, do I like Miami? Do I like the Heat? Yeah. What's wrong with the Miami Heat? Eric Spoelstra is one of the greatest coaches. Like, he maximizes everybody. I was thinking about that the other day, actually, ironically. I was just thinking about, the Miami Heat team in 2023 that went to the finals with, when Jimmy Butler had that crazy playoff run. But obviously, it wasn't just him. Like, Gabe Vincent balled out all playoffs, and Caleb Martin too. Like, everybody contributed. And so I was thinking about that the other day, ironically, and I was like, is there another coach? Okay, not another coach. I was just thinking, like, would there be another team? Like, was that run so impossibly great? Like, would we ever see something like that again? Just like the fact that it was like 8 undrafted players, and I know just going undrafted doesn't necessarily mean you're not talented anymore, because we see players come from the G League and stuff like that, especially more so nowadays. Like Pascal Siakam. I think Pascal Siakam was drafted, though. I think he was. But Fred VanVleet was not drafted, and now we see he has like a $40 million contract. So I say all that to say, though, like a team of players who you wouldn't necessarily say that's the championship team before the season started. Like, they were nobody's favorite. They were the 8th seed even up until that point. Jimmy Butler goes insane, and Eric Spoelstra pushes all the right buttons. Like, there is very few coaches, not only currently in the NBA, but all time, who can get what they got out of every single player in that playoff run. So I was just thinking about the other day, I was like, if we put anybody else on that team, like if we replace Jimmy with any other star, does that team still go to the finals? Like, I don't know what the answer is. I was just saying, like, that was one of the craziest playoff runs to the finals we have ever seen. I was literally just thinking about that the other day. So back to the Knicks versus Pacers, right? So obviously the series is over, and credit to the Pacers, because like they still had to win 3 other games, right? Like, it's not like the series ended after game 1. But I do think the Knicks could look to that and be like, that really did, change the series for us. Because if you're looking at the Knicks, because it was really that close. Like, I think the games, the margin of victory was only like Knicks by 4, like by 4 points total up until today's win. Like when the Knicks won game 5, I think it was like the margin of victory for all 5 games has been Knicks by 4. Like it has been that close, or that it had been that close. So yeah, it was a crazy series. Shout out to the Pacers. They got it done. And Pascal Siakam, like I said, deserved that, trophy. I think he deserved it. And obviously Tyrese Halliburton really came through, especially at the end of this game, because they needed someone to close it out. Like, even though they had a, decent lead, like you could tell the Knicks were starting to make their run. OG Anunoby was amazing today. OG was doing everything. So like they really needed to, close out the series, and they needed Tyrese to step up for them, especially after the last game where he only had like 8 points and whatever. So Tyrese really stepped up at the end of the game. Shout out to everybody on the Pacers. Miles Turner, shout out to that man, because you know what? Miles Turner has been on the Pacers, I think, his whole time. Like, I believe he was drafted by the Pacers. And he was notorious for being the guy on the trading block every single year. It was Miles Turner might be traded every year for like 4 or 5 years. Like, that's, I always felt so bad because it was like, Miles Turner on the block again, and then he wouldn't get traded. And then it would come out next year, Miles Turner might get traded every year. And now they see how, perfectly he fits alongside this team and how important he is to this team. And now he gets to go to the NBA Finals. So shout out to him, just because I felt bad that he was always on the trading block. Like, he literally was like in jeopardy of being traded every single year. So now we get to talk about, the Thunder and the Pacers finals matchup, because like I said in the earlier part of the video, we are talking about 2 teams, well now the Pacers and the Thunder, where they both like to do similar things in terms of like offensively. Like the Thunder and the Pacers both love to run in transition, both love to turn you over. They want to, push the pace. They want to play fast. Like the advantage that that the Pacers had over the Knicks, like, like I just talked about the transition and wanting to play like a track meet. They don't have that advantage against OKC, because OKC will play that way as well, right? So, and OKC plays physical defense. They are getting up in you, especially Lou Dort. Like, I would assume that Lou Dort is going to guard Tyrese Halliburton. What a matchup that's going to be. Tyrese Halliburton versus Lou Dort, that is must-see TV. But I do think the Thunder are going to win their first NBA championship. Congratulations to them. I mean, okay, hold on. Let me not say congratulations, because it didn't happen yet. Obviously, the Pacers didn't just get here on luck. Like, they have to be good enough to get to the finals. So fair enough, right? I'm not trying to discredit them in any way, shape, or form. But I do think, because again, they're not going to have their, like, the advantage that they have over a lot of teams, they don't have that advantage over the Thunder. Like, the Thunder can do it just as well, if not better than them, because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the MVP for a reason, right? You can pencil him in for 30 a night, literally. I think he scored 30 in like, I don't know how many games. I don't know if it was like 65 games or if it's more than that, but like, you can pencil him in for his 30, right? And although I think the questions maybe would be kind of like their youth, and that they've never been to the finals, and that's a different type of pressure, of course. Jalen Williams has had some really great playoff games and some not so great playoff games, right? And so it's some of their first times. Chet, obviously his first time there, but they do also have veteran leadership, and Alex Caruso, who has won a championship, so he can help settle them down. And then Isaiah Hartenstein also hasn't won a championship, but he has playoff experience and he's a veteran, right? And so with that being said, and Shea doesn't really ever get rattled either. Even though he's never been to a finals, he doesn't get rattled. So like their leader, their superstar, will still always lead the way. Like you don't ever have to worry about him getting rattled. So I feel like that is something that will settle down the whole team, even if like they get a little crazy is not the right word. If they get a little like timid at times or just nervous, right? Like because Shea is going to be steady and even keeled the whole time. So regardless if they're having some nerves, because Shea will still be steady, it's going to settle them down regardless. So like that is a benefit that they do have because their superstar is that way. And so I just feel like in the end, because OKC can literally match them in terms of the style that they want to play and the type of basketball they want to play. And then in addition, OKC is clearly the better defensive team. Like OKC, they were talking about, like I was, watching, analysis and stuff like that. And I was watching, the TV analysts and stuff like that. And they were talking about how in the Minnesota series, OKC versus Minnesota, that the Timberwolves were put through some rough stuff. Like basically they were saying OKC's defense was so impossible to get around that Minnesota was just like, they didn't know what to do. Like they were just so frustrated, confused, like they didn't know how to get out of it, right? And so I say all that to say, the Pacers are going to have to deal with that type of defense. And because OKC can match them offensively and then play a level of defense that the Pacers cannot play, I think OKC is going to win this series, which would be really cool. OKC gets their first championship in franchise history. So that's my opinion on that. Shout out to the Pacers, though, for making the NBA Finals, and obviously shout out to the Thunder for making the NBA Finals as well. And let's see what happens. I'm excited to watch. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this live stream.